All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. How many, by a show of hands, know what the SFC actually is? Ooh, so we got a lot of education to do. Yeah. So I guess that's a perfect segue then, Mark. I'll throw it over to you. Like, how did we get here? How's the story start and where we are today?
Well, I appreciate it. First of all, thank you all for being here. Thank you to Brand Innovators for having us. Really appreciate the opportunity, and we know all the work that goes into these types of events, so thank you in advance. So I'm Mark Neifeld. I'm a founder, CEO, and commissioner at Sport Fishing Championship. That's a mouthful, so just on the docks, everybody just calls me Fish Commish. Yeah, a couple of years ago, we launched Sport Fishing Championship to really address, we'll get into the addressable fan market and stuff like that, but felt like the largest white space in American pro sports was pro fishing, and that there was a real opportunity to launch a pro league in the saltwater division. And so that's what we've been doing for going on 5 years now. In April, we'll launch our 5th season, and nothing's slowing us down.
Yeah, perfect. And so maybe we can borrow a mic while we're going back and forth here and then switch it down the line. But your big profile event, The Catch, right? Celebrity crossovers with NFL athletes, Raheem, Jeff, other athletes, Alvin Kamara. How did that come to be, and how has that somewhat catapulted the profile of the league?
Well, first it's The Catch, powered by Verizon.
My bad.
Come on! We're at Brand Innovators. So The Catch, powered by Verizon. Yeah, so this is actually year 3 for The Catch. So in 2020, three, we launched it really as a made-for-TV event. The first year we had, I believe, 8, all-pro NFL superstars, guys like Justin Herbert and Chris Jones, who's playing the Super Bowl this week. And last year it went from 8 to 16. This year it's gone from 16 to 33. We have an amazing host with Cleveland Browns quarterback Jameis Winston this year. The previous hosts were Randy Moss and Devin Hester. And I'll tell you, I've been working in events and sports for about 15, 16 years now. I've been fortunate to work on Super Bowl and College Football Playoff and Final Four and the ACM Awards and all the events that all of us see each other at. And there's just something really magical about The Catch. It's just something from an experience standpoint. It's tough to catch lightning in a bottle like that. And, ultimately what we try to do is deliver an unrivaled fan experience where NFL and SFC fans can get together, they can hang out and fish with their favorite NFL superstars and legends and really get an intimate experience with the player. I always tell people, you can host, a stakeholder, or somebody with your company. You can take them to an NFL football game and put them in a suite or take them to the Masters, but put them on the back of a boat with Jaselyn, Berthelot, and Raheem Mostert for 6 hours, and it's a real intimate experience. And the fun thing is, after The Catch, all the stories that we find out throughout the year about whether it's the anglers and the relationships that they built, or even the fans with the players that they met at The Catch, it really is. I said lightning in a bottle. It really is that, because it's really forming relationships, and it's all around our exhibition event.
Cool. So I was a lot like the rest of you in the audience, didn't know much about SFC. And so Mark and I were talking the other day to prep for this panel, and he informed me, he's like, yeah, fishing's a team sport. Our events are team sports. And I had no idea. So can you help the crowd understand exactly how fishing is a team sport? Because it was fascinating to me. And then we'll get to Jaselyn and Jeff and Raheem in terms of their experience. But I think nobody in this room is probably as clear on it as you are on the team aspect.
Sure thing. So first of all, Jaselyn's the expert, so I will pass it over. But look, offshore fishing, you really have 3 positions on the team. You have a captain, and that captain's job is to go find the fish. Now, keep in mind, this isn't a pond in your backyard, or you're not fishing off the bridge. The only thing you see is the curvature of the ocean, and you're 150 to 300 miles offshore, looking for the blue marlin, which is the apex predator of the ocean, and you're trying to predict where that marlin is going to come up and eat, okay? And a lot of things go into that. Ocean chemistry, telemetry, weather, lunar patterns, and then all of the tactics that the boats deploy in terms of their tackle and things like that on the back of the boat. So captain, their job, they're the quarterback, go find the fish. The mate, The fish comes up in the spread. So, okay, you've achieved it. You found a fish. Now we got to get that fish hooked up. And if you've ever seen, the orchestration down in the cockpit of a sport fishing boat, it's like a ballet. You have to get lines out of the water. I mean, it really is. I mean, you have an instant to get that fish hooked up, or you're going to lose it, and you're not going to score. And then the last part is the angler. Right now, you're hooked up, and now you've got to get that fish to the boat. And that can be, you could be fighting an 800-pound blue marlin, and we've got the best teams in the world. So, many of them, it can take, 20 to 40 minutes. And if you don't get it in that 24 minutes, it could take you 4 or 6 hours. So it really just depends on what happens in that, the first, couple of minutes when that fish gets up into the spread. And then, of course, we are an all-release series. So, there's, for us, I always like to add that. I mean, there's a big sustainability, ocean, conservation message behind SFC. So we always want to see that fish swimming back in the ocean at the end of the release.
All right, so let's move on down to Jaselyn. I don't know if you guys actually listened to the intros, but not only is she one of the most accomplished members of the league, I would argue one of the most accomplished female athletes currently in the United States, given her accomplishments. Jaselyn, tell us how this all started. I think you said you were 17 when you hooked up with Mark here?
Yeah, so fishing and my history in fishing started about when I was 12 years old. My dad started bringing my brother. I was a competition dancer, so my season and fishing season kind of collided for me. So once I saw my brother kind of excelling and winning a couple junior angler awards and different things, I'm very competitive with him, and I think that's what drives me to try to be the best in my sport. I had to kind of give him a run for his money. So I went out there with my dad and learned the ropes and just took in any kind of information I could get from anyone. And that's kind of driven me to what I am today in the sport. And I connected with Mark 17 years ago. I'm sorry, it's when I was 17, not 17 years ago. Connected with him when I was 17 at SFC, and really have just seen so much growth with the sport and myself in it, and my team as well.
Yeah, and so tell the truth, did you ever imagine yourself on a boat with a bunch of NFL guys twice your size and kicking their ass essentially in terms of getting the fish on the boat?
Not at all. I think what people don't realize, one of the most misleading conceptions about fishing is that it's all muscle, and I'm a pure example of it's completely not. You really have to have a great mindset, a great mentality, and just great endurance to fight those fish. But yeah, I never thought I could see it going this way, for sure.
So you just graduated college in December. We learned backstage, so congratulations, a massive accomplishment. And we said, what's next? And you said fishing. So what is the future for you in your mind with SFC, and what does that look like in terms of your career?
So SFC has really opened the door for me to make my 12-year-old self really just accomplish things for my 12-year-old self. I saw this as a dream of doing it every day, and I wanted to do it for the rest of my life, no matter what it took. And that just seemed like a hobby. Like I would always that was what I was going to do over the summer. I'd have to find a job that would support me doing that. And SFC in the past 4 years has really been able to turn that hobby into a career for me, and I will be forever grateful for that. There's been so many opportunities of becoming considered an athlete in that sport, because yes, I do have an off season where I might not be fishing, but there's so many things that happen on that off season to keep our team in shape, to keep our boat in shape, to study new methods to track these fish. All the things that go into it. It's the same as being a pro football player, and they're working continuously all year. I do the same thing.
I just want to add, and I think coming off the heels of the panel before this, that a lot of what we talk about in sports and the sports industry and sports media, right now is women in sports, women and with Jaselyn, come to a tournament in the Gulf of Mexico during the summer. This is a big game. The boats that are fishing these tournaments, these are $3.5 to $25 million sport fishing vessels. She's competing against people that have seemingly unlimited resources. They have the top captains in the world. They have full-time captains, mates, and anglers. They're fishing anywhere from 20 to even 60 tournaments a year. And Jaselyn kicks their ass every weekend. So I love that she gets this platform because she's a winner. It's not, and I love that, women in sports it's so important right now, and we haven't announced it. I'm so excited. In a couple of weeks, we're going to announce our one of our teams is going to be an all-female team. And again, we give them that opportunity because they're winners, they're competitors, and this is a sport that they get to compete side by side. It doesn't matter about the gender. It really just depends on who's the best in getting, the fish to the side of the boat.
Yeah, it's more of a mental game than a physical game, essentially, and there's a level playing field no matter who you are. Let's pivot a little bit. Let's get Raheem and Jeff involved in the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
You guys participated in the catch for the first time 2 years ago, Raheem?
Yep.
And then Jeff, was it this past year the first time? Okay, so going into the catch, help us understand what you thought you were getting into, and then after the event, what you actually realized, wow, this is totally different, or something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. So I ended up on Rising Suns with this crew right here, and she was giving me all the pointers, and I was soaking up as much knowledge as I could on the boat, right? And knowing us football players, we were thinking, hey, look, we're gonna use our muscles and have a good base and do everything that we possibly can to reel these fish in. Well, I saw what she was doing, and it took her about 20, 30 minutes to reel this big marlin, and I'm like, oh, okay. Now, I'm just trying to mimic that. Man, it took me damn near, excuse my French, but it took me damn near almost an hour just trying to reel this one fish in. And I'm like, how are you doing this? I'm asking them questions, and she's giving me pointers. She's like, hey, look, you got to do it this way. And so on the competitive side, man, it's unbelievable to see the nature in itself in fishing, right? And she does a great job. I was on the boat for the first time with her, and I used to fish all the time when I was a kid. Truthfully, that was my first ever sport that I played. I would go bass fishing in a local pond in my hometown, and then I would fish off the jetty in Ponce Inlet right off of in Daytona Beach. So I'm not new to fishing, but this whole world is completely different, right? Being on a boat, open water, doing all that whole scene, just trying to take in the techniques and understanding, and just I fell in love with it. I was talking with Mark this past off season, and we were able to get me in a position where I'm a part owner of a team now. So I love the sport. I love everything that it entails. I love the future of the sport, even with with the women coming in and doing their thing, because this is all about inclusion, right? You want everybody to be included in this whole journey, and what everyone's doing, man, is unbelievable. So. Yeah, I'm just super excited about the opportunity, and we're going to be fishing a lot more. Yeah, Rising Suns, they got my heart, man, and I appreciate them a lot for it.
Jeff, how about yourself?
I think for me, when I first got, even to Fort Lauderdale last year, just to set up, when I saw how everything was laid out, the welcome party and all that, it's kind of blew my mind, because I was like, this is a fishing trip. I didn't expect that. But, of course, I was on Team Harvey last year, and I was messing with Mark, I want to be back on Team Harvey. Like you say, I kind of got spoiled on Team Harvey last year for my first one, but I enjoyed myself. I would say for me, growing up, fishing was my hobby. Outside of the game of football, I really enjoy fishing. I bought a bass boat last year, and my first thing I thought about was I want to custom this boat the same color as my truck. And so happened this year, I did it. So just to be able to be around fishing, and like I said, with the catch last year, was an unbelievable time. And, when Steele and them reached out to me, they asked me about did I want to attend it this year, and the first thing that came to my mind was of course, I enjoyed myself, this being able to, because last year was my first time ever deep sea fishing. Yeah. Catching a sailfish, I worked out all off season. I didn't think catching a fish was going to be that hard. And so, being out there on that water, and, the excitement of, everyone, like you said, it's a team. Yeah. And you should have seen how just excited the guys was when I caught my first sailfish. So, like I said, it was an unbelievable experience, and I'm looking forward to this year, and I'm most definitely looking forward to beating these guys.
So what's harder, getting past the guard or tackle, or getting that fish to the boat?
Well, I would say maybe getting past, because I don't get single blocks. I get double teams.
Nope. We got a whole game
Going
plan
through
for
the
him.
A gap, you're going through the B gap. What's going on?
Listen, no matter where I'm at, it's going to always be 4 hands on me. So me going out there wrestling that fish, they get in that boat, I take that all day.
So we agreed backstage you're going to get involved in ownership now, right? What's the next step?
Further conversation going to happen.
Okay, all right. We'll see how the rest of the panel goes. Raheem, you're an owner now.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we wanted to understand better was, as an athlete, you view the business of sport one way, and now you're on the other side of the negotiation table, albeit different. Football and fishing are not exactly the same. How do you now see the business of sport differently?
Yeah, me and Mark, we had conversation after conversation, and him and his team, they did a great job explaining the economics of everything, and even the sport itself, and moving forward, the future of the sport. And I was just so enticed by the way, we were all talking. I'm an owner of several different, small businesses. I own a roofing company down in South Florida. I'm potentially going to be owning a venture capital firm, and I also am going to be taking on coffee. So just try to diversify your portfolio as best as you possibly can. Is something that I've been trying to do since I've been in the NFL. This platform allows us the opportunity and the gateway to connect with so many different people, so many walks of life, and so many business ventures that you have to find something that's a niche, right? And so for me, being as fishing is one of those niches that I latched onto, especially when I was a young kid, and joining Jason, the team, last year, it made me further explore the opportunities of owning a team. And so I was able to sit down, we negotiated, we did all that whole, spiel, and it worked out. And now I can finally put that on my resume, which is pretty cool. But, as an NFL player, and Jeff can allude to, just like so many other guys, we have a platform, and we want to be able to utilize our platform off the field and monetarily and financially, because this game doesn't last forever for so many people. I'm blessed to go into my 11th year as an undrafted guy, and so I'm just trying to maximize as best as I possibly can, because like I mentioned, this league isn't forever, and football does come to an end, whether people believe it or not. I know Tom Brady had 20 years and Jerry Rice did 22, but those guys are a dime a dozen, right? That's why they're considered the greats and the GOATs. But I just want to go out there and just have fun and explore so many different options. And so with SFC, they've been able to provide that for me. And I mean, heck, who doesn't like fishing, man? That's why I do it. So.
Yeah, it's a good thing you're getting involved in coffee, because I don't know when you're sleeping based on all that stuff you're involved in.
Yeah, especially I got 3 boys, and we're working on my we got one cooking in the oven right now. We got a baby girl on the way, so just found out Monday, but I'm gonna need a lot of coffee.
New.
Yeah,
brand new.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, so Mark, one of the things that all 3 of our guests said, which was a common thread across all their answers, was, I grew up fishing. So let's talk about the addressable market. When we spoke on the phone the other day, you were very excited about the potential size of this league and this sport in the United States and beyond. Tell us about what the opportunity is from your perspective, from your seat.
For sure. So, I bet if I asked most people in this room, do you have a strategy for golf, or do you have a strategy for tennis? I speak with a lot of brands and agencies, and they'll say, yeah, we have a strategy for golf, and this is where we participate, this is where we don't participate. And then I love asking the question, do you have a strategy for fishing? And I get the look. Why would I have a strategy for fishing? Well, a couple of numbers here. So about 22.5 million Americans played tennis last year. 26.8 million Americans played a round of golf. Now, golf just last year started tracking how many people go through like a Top Golf or a putt-putt facility. That number is about 33 million Americans. 58.8 million Americans bought a fishing license last year and participated in the sport. It's the largest recreational sport in the country by a mile. Now, that's the number of Americans that purchased a fishing fishing license. We all know that about 10 to 15% of Americans that participate in the sport don't actually go the extra step to buy a license. So it's about 70 million Americans that are participating in the sport. And so it is a massive sport. We don't have, in terms of, startup league and some of the issues or challenges, if you were, I work with a lot of other startup leagues, but, rugby or lacrosse or stuff like that, we don't have those issues. Fishing is in big box. Fishing is the largest recreational sport. It's been tracked by the federal government for 120 years. And I'll also add, again, because we're on the heels of women in sports, 19.8 million American women went fishing last year. Almost 20 million American women went fishing last year. 26.6 million American people played a round of golf. Now, golf has 3 leagues. Golf has LIV, and Taylor Gooch, who is the 2023 LIV golf champion, he owns the Mississippi Blues Angling Club in our league, so he's also a team owner. And it has the PGA Tour. Scotty Scheffler is the reigning U.S. gold medalist and 2-time Masters champion, and had one of the best seasons in the history of golf. Scotty Scheffler owns our Texas Lone Stars Angling Club, and so we just look at the opportunity. The addressable fan market is massive. Our hypothesis back in 2021 when the venture started was that the entertainment value for the current product in fishing didn't serve the general audience and the larger consumer. And so we felt like the entertainment value, the hospitality, all of the things that come along with the saltwater component, we bring people, whether you're at the event or you're watching at home on your phone or on television, we bring people to Nantucket in July, and we put them on the back of a $25 million sport fishing boat, fishing for 800-pound blue marlin. And whether you're a corporate partner and you're bringing people in to have that type of experience, I'm going to tell you right now, I worked in the NFL for years and all that. It is a way better experience than even sideline passes. And maybe I'm just spoiled, but put people in a helicopter above 80 boats, in a shotgun start off the coast of Fort Lauderdale, and that's water cooler talk. So, massive market, and that's just what we've been doing over the past couple of years, is addressing what, really, it's not the 800-pound gorilla, it's an elephant.
Yeah, so it's pretty clear that the runway's long. You got an opportunity in front of us to really grow the sport. You've got great ambassadors and owners and participants. But tell the truth on one thing. Your very first sponsorship call, how did that go?
Hi, I'm Mark Neifeld. I used to work for the Dallas Cowboys. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I'm starting a saltwater fishing league. Who the hell are you?
Yeah. And they said,
how long have you worked in fishing?
Yeah. So obviously a tough sell in the beginning, which is understandable.
No,
how is it different now?
No, I truth be told, early on, we were actually really successful even just selling SFC when it was a PDF deck. Because, but if you pitch New York as an example, so many people participate in the sport and so many people have fishing stories. And so when I pick up the phone and I call an agency in New York and I say, hey, we're starting a saltwater fishing league, here it is, here's the branding, here's the concept, here's the markets we're going to, here's the media platform and our strategy, people get it. It wasn't like I was pitching something that was foreign. And so, think about just New York alone. The proximity to Long Island. Long Island, when you get to the Northamptons and stuff like that, when you cross into Montauk's a fishing town. All right, you can take an $88 blade helicopter from Manhattan to Montauk and go fish for 1,000-pound blue marlin and come back and have a nice steak dinner, on the same day. Boston, you're talking to, agencies or brands in Boston. The Cape Cod, it's legendary for fishing and whaling. I always tell people, fishing, it is the fabric of the coastal communities that we go to. It's not, we're not other sports, like literally a lot of the towns that we go to, the town is physically built there because of its access to fishing and porting. There aren't many sports leagues that can walk into a pitch on day one and say, hey, we're representing 2% of the U.S. GDP. So, I mean, that's how large, we're talking about. And then in terms of recreational sales and stuff like that, apples to apples with golf. We're about 5% less in terms of recreational gear sales. Now, I will tell you that buying a really nice fishing rod compared to a really nice driver, the cost is significantly different as well. And then if you're a golfer like I am, you got a bunch of very expensive clubs, so, you make your wife very frustrated with you. But you really only need one or two, really good rods and reels. So I won't say I'm the founder. I mean, it was it's a grind starting a sports league and just very fortunate to be headed into our 4th year. But I will say that, I never really felt in the beginning that when we were pitching SFC, that brands didn't at least understand what we were trying to accomplish.
Gotcha. And so you said the Catch powered by Verizon, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what does Verizon see in your platform? I mean, it is a wireless company after all, and the connection to fishing might not be there, but everybody's got one of these in their pocket. So what was the conversation with Verizon like?
Yeah, so SFC was actually born in late 2020, early 2021, and at that time, there was really, a shift in tech upload speeds in the middle of the ocean. And so SpaceX was launching Starlink, and the LEO satellite grid was getting launched. And so at that point, we gained the opportunity to be able to broadcast live from 300 miles offshore. And so we actually architected that deal with Nick Kelly last year's Super Bowl over 2 iced teas outside the Verizon fan house. Really for Nick, it's how do we get involved? This is such a tech story. How do we get involved to tell our tech, powered by Verizon? How can we help, whether it's onshore telecommunications, communication from shore to the boats, and then on top of that, the hospitality play. Right. So, again, sending people to the Catch, I encourage everybody to go to the Catch. It's just insane. All of our tournaments are, but the Catch is such an incredible experience. You can't find that really anywhere else. I mean, other brands, everybody can send people. This is how the story actually went. He's saying everybody can send people to the Masters. Everybody can send somebody to the Ryder Cup or the U.S. Open or get a suite at the Cowboys game or the Rams game or but having a real intimate experience with a C-level executive and sending them to a 5-star hotel and allowing them to go fish with NFL superstars and the best anglers in the world, those are stories that last a lifetime, right? So that was essentially how we architected the Verizon deal.
Awesome. A couple more questions for the rest of you guys here, and then we'll do a quick rapid fire, and we'll save a minute or two for some questions from the crowd if there's any. Jeff and Raheem, when you guys go back to training camp or go back to the facility, what are your teammates asking you about? They've got to be curious about your involvement, especially from an ownership side, and of course future ownership side, about what your experience has been like. And are you sensing that there is a undercurrent of desire to be a part of this now?
Yeah, it's a great question because I'm down in South Florida, right? And being with the Dolphins, we actually host Dolphins Week, which is a weekend that we go fishing with sponsors for the Dolphins and everything like that. So it gives guys a great opportunity to engage in the sport of fishing and understand, with several different teams in that realm. And you get back to the locker room and you hear stories, throughout the week. Hey, I was with this group of people on this boat, and man, the experience was amazing. Sometimes, last year I ended up getting seasick because I didn't take no Dramamine, which was a little bit different. But the water was just rough. But you get those stories, man, and you hear, teammates. They're in awe of the fact that they were out there in the water for the first time. You get guys. In the locker room, right? You have so many walks of life. So many different backgrounds. So many guys that come from West Coast all the way up to Canada, Mexico, and even Europe now. So to be able to have those guys come and fish and be on the boat and understand what it's like, fishing, they just share those stories and those memories, and it lasts a lasting impression. Yeah.
I think for me, I want to say 2 years ago, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
He came, and I remember we had a talk about, I was coming down, and I was asking, was he coming, and I don't think he was able to make it. And just having that conversation with him, just, how was your experience? And he was like, bro, you have to go. And, just hearing that, that's even made me more excited to come. So, just to even be able to talk about hobbies and fishing in the locker room, because you have a lot of, like you said, it's a lot of guys that you hear more golfing than probably more than often, but because you got, especially the specialists, that's all they talk about. But, I mean, with me, I grew up in Mississippi, so, you got a lot of guys in the locker room, it's country. So it's like, what you into? And, a lot of the guys, let's go fishing in Nashville. So being able to just do this and share my experience and show guys videos of, me out there deep sea fishing and, just being able to come to the catch and have that experience. I think a lot of, especially in our locker room, a lot of guys want to be a part of this. I don't know if I got any teammates here this year, but I'm sure after the videos and stuff I post, it'll be a lot of guys wanting to come for sure. Well,
I'm not sure if you know the story, but there was a Bleacher Report article that came out last fall that said Chris Jones was the architect of the DeAndre Hopkins trade to the Chiefs, and it happened on a boat on the back of at the catch. So,
oh, wow.
I'm sorry we stole your teammate from you.
That sucks, but hey, look, both of them, Chris Jones, a Mississippi guy as well, Mississippi State guy, Hell State, but being able to be from Mississippi and seeing them guys in the Super Bowl, I'm happy for them. So,
very cool, very cool. And Jaselyn, we'll kind of turn the table a little bit. So, you now are friends and teammates and partners with all these NFL athletes. What's that been like for you?
It's been truly a surreal experience, to say the least. I think something that not everybody realizes, they're just everyday people, just like me and you. They have 4 kids, and they run their life how they want to. And just like us, we have tasks to do every day. They have tasks to do every day. They just might look a little different. But I think one thing that is really cool about fishing is no matter where you are in the world, no matter what you do for a living or what your life looks like, it always brings people together. And I think that the catch and this event and sport fishing in general is a really great representation of that, because nowhere me, an LSU college student, would think that I'd be on the back of a boat with the Saints running back Alvin Kamara and Raheem Mostert at the same time, watching them catch 2 sailfish simultaneously with my dad as I'm sitting there coaching them through it. That's a memory that I look back on literally every day, and something that I think I never would have expected to experience, but SFC has really made that possible.
That's great. That's great. And your dad's in the audience today too, right?
Yes, he's right here, my camera guy.
Camera guy.
Special props to Dad for giving you this passion in life, because we all want to have a passion in life, and obviously very clear for you with fishing. So we'll do a little bit of rapid fire. We'll go right down the line. We'll start with Jeff, and then we'll go down the line, and then we'll leave a minute or two for questions. So the 3 questions for rapid fire is: who wins on Sunday? Who's the MVP and why? And then who is playing in Santa Clara next year at this time?
The first question, I'll say I think the Eagles are going to win. MVP, Saquon, and hopefully next year, Tennessee Titans in the Super Bowl.
Tennessee Titans, anybody else, right?
Well, Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
I can see them.
I'm going to go with the Eagles, and I'm going to also go with Saquon for the MVP. And then I think the team I want to see, probably Commanders. I watched Jaden Daniels play at LSU my whole college career, so I'd love to see them in the Super Bowl.
All right, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I want to see a three-peat. It's never been done before, so I'm chasing history. Obviously, if that happens, then we all know that Mahomes is going to be an MVP, and then of course Dolphins versus Bucks.
Oh, come on. You did that for me. All right, I'm going to go with history as well. I'm going 3-peat, 21-20 Chiefs. They're going to pull it off the last second. I got to say that our CFO is in the audience today, and he's a big Chiefs fan, and he controls the budget. So if I answer any other way, the purse strings are going to get tightened up. What was it? MVP, we got to go Pat Mahomes. And next year, it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers
versus
the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Not the
AFC, this is going to be a great AFC championship game.
Yeah. Sorry, Jeff.
All right.
It's
All right, so we have a minute or two for a question. Go ahead.
Is there anything unique about the NFL fan base that makes bringing in stars like Raheem and Jeffery draw that awareness to other fans that's unique, or are the thoughts of like NASCAR drivers or NBA guys also getting into the sport that broaden it?
Yeah. So actually, there's two answers there. Number one, Wasserman conducted a fan segmentation study for us years ago, and the largest overlap between our fan base and another league's fan base was NFL fans. The second was college football. And then we very intentionally, when we went out with our, who we were going to invite to become the inaugural, team owners in the new league format, we very intentionally went after people that could create what I say feeders or tentacles into other markets. Now, I will say very proudly, sitting on the stage, we didn't give equity to any of the team owners. Scotty Scheffler, those guys, they paid for their teams, and so we went to Scotty, and you say, okay, well, how do you get somebody in golf to become introduced, to Sport Fishing Championship? Well, let's do it through Scotty Scheffler, right? Let's do it through Taylor Gooch. How do you get somebody in NASCAR? I'll break the news today. It'll get broken some point in the next couple of days. Austin Dillon owns our South Carolina team, Richard Childress Racing. So how do we go and bring people in from the NASCAR community? How do we bring people in from the country music community, which we know that there's an affinity for people that love country music and offshore fishing? Well, Brian Kelly, 14-time Academy of Country Award winner with Florida Georgia Line, he's an owner in one of our teams. So we did it very intentionally. We didn't just kind of mass, shotgun out to everybody. We were very, specific because the initial offering for teams was only 16 teams, and we wanted to have a makeup of people that were diverse and strategic.
Anybody else? Yeah, in the back.
How are you thinking about the viewing experience? Through lots of sports, you've seen cameras change the angles, and maybe what are some of the nuances that you can't pick up with the camera?
Yeah, so one of the unique challenges that we had in 2022 when we launched SFC, the LEO satellite grid wasn't up yet. And so there's actually a lot of funny stories that when we were doing our live shows in 2022, we were literally throwing trash bags with a camera card that was this big in the middle of the ocean with a glow stick in them and retrieving camera cards in the middle of the night to have a live show the next day. So in 2023, imagine turning the internet on, right? Everybody, we're so accustomed to having access to the internet all the time. Well, just 24, 36 months ago, we didn't have access to the internet in the middle of the ocean. Devices couldn't talk back to one another. We couldn't get the stream from the middle of the ocean back to the shore. And so now that's what we're having the ability to do. Partners like Verizon and other partners are helping us with, okay, now we flip the internet on. Can we do underwater video? Can we do live underwater video? We do have some incredible dredge cam video of marlin coming up on the back of the boat. It's some of our most viral videos that we have. But those are all the things that we're continuing to innovate because, again, 3-4 years ago, nobody hands you a book and says, hey, here's how you broadcast, from the middle of the ocean. We have some of the most remote broadcasts in the history of the world, frankly. And then what was the second part of the question?
Are there, with any sport, people who play the game pick up on the nuances of professional athletes? You guys said it took you an hour to 20 minutes. What are some of those little nuances that the camera may not be able to pick up?
Yeah, so the storytelling in our shows, right? And then so we've got 2-hour live shows. The last 3 years have been on CBS Sports Network. Again, in the next couple of weeks, we'll announce our new media rights partner. But we're just constantly trying to improve those things. Whether it be through graphics and storytelling and things like that, because most of the time, our rule of thumb is most of the time a person that's coming in to watch an SFC show, 95% of the audience is going to be a first-time viewer. Right, so now we're trying to create fan bases with East Coast Remix and all the teams that are in our league, but just continuing to just work on the storytelling, whether that be through visual graphics or broadcast experts. One of the gentlemen that is our TV host, Peter Miller, is a 3-time world sail fishing champion, so he's really great in the seat. And then we bring in other experts that have won, other fishing championships and stuff like that to break down what's happening in the cockpit as they're out there competing. Yes, ma'am.
So, mother of a teenager, it's the numbers are not surprising because now in the last couple of years I've realized they all fish, and I am from Illinois, so it will be that back on the condition. But is there a pathway, or are you guys kind of putting together a pathway for youth to go more into it at a serious level, like a competing level.
Yeah. So in July of 23, we announced Sport Fishing Championship Anglers Association. And that's essentially to create the grassroots, pipeline, if you will, of developing the next generation of our competitors. When we launched the angling clubs, all of our teams are angling clubs. We very intentionally did that. Angling clubs, like country clubs or fishing clubs, they're out there across the coast. Some of them are, 150, 200 years old. Some of them are younger than that. And so East Coast Remix as an example. So they have an exclusive rights territory from, I believe it's Palm Beach up to the Florida-Georgia line. And so one of the initiatives that their team will be doing is that they'll be using East Coast Remix to go in and build out, those community programs in their exclusive territories. And then we essentially have the entire coastline in the Gulf of Mexico, Atlantic seaboard, and strategic markets in the Caribbean that have been offered out.
Any other questions? Good. Jaselyn, having two young daughters, competitive gymnasts, competitive dancer, that shift that you have, and then now I don't want to say it's a weight on your back, but how do you plan to inspire other young girls to take this into a whole other level?
So I think one big thing that I feel like we could touch on too is fishermen and women anglers all in general are looked at as something that's trying to threaten our ocean life, and that by no means is what we're trying to do. I want to watch 1,000 young women and I want to watch my kids grow up on the same fisheries that I have today. So that's one of our biggest motives. I want to be able to fish this for the rest of my life. So I want to still have the same conservation efforts and different things. And me and my team and SFC as well have different efforts that we put into different organizations that we help to do that. I love to promote that, yes, it's a male-dominated sport and it's a male-dominated arena, but that doesn't mean that a woman can't compete in that as well. I think that's something great about the fishing industry, is that it really levels out the playing field. I can sit next to him, and no offense, but I can catch a 400-pound blue marlin quicker than he can any day.
I witnessed it.
So I think that really shows young women and any woman in the room that it is possible. It's not all about muscle. It's not all about technique. You learn it. And one thing I will say about women is they listen. They understand that they're going to get better by listening to what critiques give them. So that is the best way that I learned. And I think women in general understand that. So that's kind of how I plan to interpret and turn over the women angling demographic. But I have seen in my time of fishing a growth of about 50% of women coming into fishing in general, whether it's freshwater or saltwater, and I expect that to grow a lot.
Jeff, it took me 2.5 hours to pull the marlin, so you're good.
Oh, my dad wants me to share. I have a saying that I've said since I was younger, and it's changing the meaning of fishing like a girl, one fish at a time. And I live by that every single day.
Well, that sounds like a great way to end the panel. I don't think we can top that. So thank you to our guests for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the weekend at the Super Bowl.